Welcome to Behind the Knowledge, a best hour podcast where we dive deep into the lives and stories of inspiring coaches from all walks of life. The two hosts of this show are me, Pat Barber, and my good friend and fellow coach, Todd Acuto. Each week, we'll sit down with the most amazing coaches we can find, uncovering their unique paths, the challenges they've faced, and passions that continue to drive them. Whether you're a seasoned coach, an aspiring one, or simply somebody who likes listening to stories of how people achieve the success that they have, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired by the powerful stories and insights from the world of coaching. This is Behind the Knowledge. Let's jump in.
All right, we are back on another episode of Behind the Knowledge, as always with Pat. And this time we are very excited to have Mr. Simon Jones, CrossFit seminar staff flow master. He is the Middle East regional rep. He has, how long have you been teaching seminars for? It's got to be 15 years, 13
Close.
years, 14 years, something like that.
This is my 14th year at the moment. Yeah.
14th year, and it's kind of been all over the world, literally
Correct.
all over the world with this thing.
Yeah.
Excited to have you on, man. Appreciate you taking the time. What time is it where you're at?
We are at 10:54 p.m. currently.
Oh, dude, I would have been asleep for a full hour. So I appreciate you being up and being here with us, man.
How do you go to bed this early? Oh my God, this is kind of normal for me.
That's normal.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Well, we got like all the US calls half the time, so we're always like just to get used to this time.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
I've got to get my beauty rest, man. Lights
And
out
so
right around.
whereabouts are you again right now?
In Dubai,
In Dubai. Cool.
in UAE. Yeah.
And if we, like, the part that we start this off with is just tell us your coaching journey. So, like, where did you start coaching and what kind of steps along the way to kind of get you here? And you can get as elaborate as you want, and we'll probably ask questions midway through too. So talk to me.
Cool. So I kind of I came out of, I'm a sort of big golfer as a kid, and I broke my arm at 14 and broke my arm at 16, and then kind of one of the
Playing
rehab.
golf? That's
No,
vicious.
rugby. I was playing rugby. Two sports that don't really go well together.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when I was kind of like rehabbing and kind of trying to figure out how to kind of get my arm and my wrist all sorted out to play golf again, someone kind of took me under their wing and started kind of training me. And then he just said, "Hey, well, I think you kind of be good at this," and just started getting me to train with his clients. And then kind of fast forward a little bit, I kind of, he kind of signed me up for like a PT course, like an open day thing. And I signed up to that. And then when I was doing the PT qualification, I was doing some research and then came about CrossFit.com, and it was the Killer Workouts article back in the day. And I was like, it can't be that bad. And then I remember doing my first .com workout back in 2007, and it was Tabata. And then pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, squats. Couldn't walk for a week. I thought it was amazing. And then I pretty much never looked back since then. Anyone who, back in Dubai, no one was doing it. I was like, who's crazy enough to join me in this sort of crazy workout? So for some odd reason, I managed to find a fitness shop who had a barbell and bumper plates. And then one of my buddies, just out of pure luck, we were just having dinner together, and I was like just messing around because I was reading the Zone article, and then he looks at me, he's like, I know what the Zone is. And he trained at Chris Spieler's box at Park City.
Oh,
Oh,
And
no
he's
way.
good
this
friends with
is
him.
a random dude in Dubai?
Yeah, so like we were just all getting together, we're friends, we had dinner, and I just kind of met him, and then I was just like trying to figure out what to do with the food and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden he just, I trained with Chris Spieler at Park City. We kind of went from like the small kind of in the school before he moved into the bigger space, and he had a pair of rings, and then we would just kind of make stuff up and try to figure things as we go. And then
Hell yeah.
wait. Yeah.
So like,
he's fast forwarding through this. So
yeah.
so fast.
What year is this?
2007.
Like played golf, broke my
This is
arm.
2007. Played golf, broke my arm, and now I'm running the Middle East.
Now I'm bringing printouts from the
that's
CrossFit Journal to my friends' dinner parties and like looking at the Zone blocks.
So this is great. So like
Yeah.
you did Tabata, and I just love like the differences in response. And a lot of people who end up coaches, like they have that like friggin', I did it once and I was like, oh, I'm in. Whereas like there's like, think about what that response is. Like you got wrecked and you were
Completely
like, you know
wrecked.
what? This is it. This is the one. And I love how that that's such a common theme amongst people who like commit to this for a long time.
And
Uh,
you kind of went like when you were trying to look for videos, you just go through CrossFit.com and the old white page, and it was just
yeah,
amazing. I was just watching those videos and repeat over and over again. And then if you try to YouTube stuff, it was like there was four CrossFit
Yeah,
videos, old
yeah, there
school
was
friend,
nothing.
with
Yeah.
Amundsen and Sakamoto and all them. I know
dude,
Pat, you were in a bunch of workouts as well. I remember that.
I'm so sorry you had to see all that. It was
That was
horrendous.
amazing.
The have you seen this demographic of? I found a few people complaining about it online, basically saying anything other than uh, if you use the Tabata interval for
Mhm.
anything other than bike sprinting, it's not Tabata. Like they're purists of like defending Tabata. So if you called it
Oh
like Tabata
God.
push-ups, they'd be like, "That's not Tabata." It's like my favorite group of pedantic asses.
Hey,
Um,
we just took it
Dude,
on board
that's
and just, hey, we can dip out of anything.
dude, and it's
dude, it was
devastating.
It's
Tell me, when was the
devastating.
last time? When was the last time you guys did a Tabata workout?
I did one probably 2 weeks ago. It was they're great. I love Tabata, man.
They
It's
are
so
great, but they are so devastating. It's like one of those things. Like I'll mix it in at the gym every once in a while, but most of the time I'm like, I don't really want to do this, so I'm going to
No.
hold tight. Simon, when did
We
you last do it?
um I've just moved to a new gym and we actually kind of did it as a bit of a warm up. So it was kind of like air squats with hollow rock. So we kind of just alternated between the two.
Okay,
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think you kind of feel like a hero for the first 3 rounds, and then you just go, oh God.
dude, it gets so
Totally. And
bad.
there's always the conversation of like, okay, am I going to send it in each round or am
Or
I
am I
going
gonna
to hit
hit
this
the
pace
numbers?
here? And like,
Well, my goal
oh
was
Yeah,
always
man,
like, hey, because I remember just like, can you hold on to like 10 push-ups every single round? And you get so close, and like always trying to get that score of like 80 total. Because like the traditional score was always the lowest number, right?
lowest. Yeah,
yep.
yeah. Which incentivized you to give up if you had a bad round,
Correct.
rather than like just total reps and just keep pushing,
To get the
right?
volume.
Um,
Yes.
Did
So
you,
I was
do
so
you
that was
guys
back in 2007, and then I
wait,
moved to
but
the UK in
wait.
'08.
Before we move on from Tabata,
Okay.
were you
Yeah. Yeah.
guys at the summit that we did the
you and I,
overhead
Oh
squats
my
and bottom
you and
squat?
I
God,
were partners, Pat. Remember, we
that was
looked at each other and
terrible.
was like, "Are we going to send this or what?" And we both
Yes.
sent it. I think I made 2 rounds of it being sent, and then I melted into the ground. And I think you made like 4 or 5 rounds before you melted, didn't you?
Bro. And then Nicole Carroll
Yeah, I just looked to my left. She's
demolished.
there
Destroyed us.
cranking them,
Yeah, she
Dude,
destroyed
that was
everybody.
and I was bottom
I
to
was
bottom
so
too, right?
devastated. What
Bottom to
was that?
bottom, overhead with a
Oh,
PVC pipe. Yeah, that was tough.
It was
yeah.
so because like I wasn't in train I wasn't training very much at the time, so that was like my one day on in like 3 weeks, and I was so sore after that. It was
Yep.
awesome. I'm so excited. Anyway,
Yeah.
keep going. So that was 2007. Now where do you
That's
go?
2007. So that was 2007, and then I started working in fitness first. I did a lot of the GX stuff, so I was teaching like Les Mills, so body pump, RPM, and then my circuit class. I was like sort of my CrossFit class back in the day. And then in 2008, I moved to the
Did you have to
UK.
wear the spandex for
Did
the
not have
Les
to wear the
Mills
spandex.
classes?
I didn't have the
He did. He
clicky
didn't.
shoes. I didn't even have
Did
those.
you choose to?
Yeah, he didn't have to. He just decided to. He just knew that was what would get people in the class with him, huh?
Okay,
Yeah,
fair.
pretty much. And then I moved to UK in '08, and then that's how I met Carl Stedman.
Okay.
So I
Never
was a
heard of him.
mensch. I have no idea who he is,
Who's,
but
who's that?
basically,
Carl who? Freaking legend.
Stetters,
I love that
legend.
man.
And
Yeah.
then literally, I was in Manchester, and I googled where CrossFit was, and it was his original place in Stockport. And then I just emailed him. I kind of rocked up to the gym. It was closed that day because I didn't realize around the corner they were doing like an adults gymnastic class in the Pear Mill. Anyway, so I just left a note, and he called me up that evening, and then I literally showed up the next day. I moved to the UK in January. I didn't own a jacket. I lived in Dubai. I don't really wear much of that stuff. So I had a pair of jeans and a shirt, and he says, "What are you doing?" And he just goes, "Well, nothing. I just came here to hang out." And he's like, "Yeah, but where's your hoodie? Where's your jumper?" I was like, "Oh, I don't have one." So he just gave me his fleece. Uh, and literally, I would show up to that gym. That was my first official going to a CrossFit affiliate. I would show up at the gym at like lunchtime for one of the lunchtime classes, and then I wouldn't leave till like 8 or 9 p.m. Like I must have been very annoying. But then
Um, Tell me what you did for this. So you're there for 8 hours. What were you doing? Were
I
you
was
just continuing to work out? What were you doing?
training, reading
So
journal articles, bugging him. He would do a PT. I would ask him like, "Hey, why are you doing this thing?" Yeah, I was just curious, and then like I think I was just using all their coffee and tea just to stay warm because it was just like a little cozy little gym. Um, yeah, and then so I had a bit of time when I moved over, and then I started working in a gym there for about I think I lasted there about 6 months, and then
Wait,
this it's
so
a
when you start working at a gym like that, so you've now transitioned into you're coaching CrossFit, or you had been doing
no, no,
Les
no.
Mills
So
training.
like yeah, so like I when I moved to the UK, I would literally any spare time I would be at CrossFit Manchester. That's where Carl was, and
Yeah,
then when I got a job, I was working Virgin Active, so it was like a fitness first
yeah.
bird thing out in the UK, and then I was just I would do PTs. I would still run my sort of my GX classes.
Are you good
Um,
at those? When you started, like, what was your experience? Because like, I just know when I started coaching, I was a
I was terrible.
garbage
Yeah.
coach.
No,
Well,
so
so like, what was that experience? Because like, what is the standard set for a GX class? Like, what is the standard set for the PT in a Virgin Active? Like, what does that look like?
well, okay, couple things. So, okay, first I'll backtrack a little bit. The only reason why I really got a job in kind of in the gyms is because I had a background of teaching salsa. So I always say I got into teaching by accident, but that's how I actually got the job in a gym because I had a skill that no one really taught. So they actually put me through a lot of my Les Mills stuff because I had a background on that. And then
In
so that's
when
how
teaching
I
did
kind of,
salsa?
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
when did
Oh,
you
get
start?
yeah.
Yes.
So I
Tell
was
us your
teaching,
salsa journey. We want all of your coaching, not just your CrossFit coaching. We need all the coaching. And that was the
uh,
other thing I was going to ask, like playing as much golf as you did. Have you coached that? And was
uh,
salsa before or after golf?
well, I played golf since I was eight till about 18. And then like I'm obsessed with it just like anyone else who kind of really gets into it. But then, yeah, I just like I wanted to go. We all want to go the tour route and or teaching professional route, and then I knew I wasn't going to have the same opportunity here because I would have to go to the States and it would cost a fortune and all that sort of stuff. So I knew I couldn't really go that way. And then, I kind of just I don't know friends I was hanging out with in school. They were like, "Hey, we're going to the salsa class thing." Went to it. I absolutely hated it. I was a brick. I'm not the smallest person in the world, so I was like, I can't move like that. And then literally, I was staying in Dubai over the summer, and then our instructor goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Well, nothing." He goes, "Well, help me with my beginner classes, and I'll give you free advanced classes." And then I was a shy kid back then. He just threw me in the deep end, and I just went pretty much fuck it. And then from there, I kind of just taught the basic steps over and over again. Taught guys how to dance and lead, and then girls how to follow. And then that's how I got into teaching completely. And then when I got the
Rad.
job, yeah, and then when I got into fitness first, and they put me through all the GX stuff, so all the Les Mills stuff. One thing Les Mills do really well, they teach you presence and attitude like there's no tomorrow.
Yes,
Like they're
they
they're
do.
they're masters at it. And then
Yes,
he
they
goes,
do.
yeah, and it's like I don't care how much you're dying, you're smiling, everything's choreographed to music, and it's like everything to like every single beat on that song is choreographed. So you actually memorize choreography, and then you can mix and match the songs because every song is a certain track. Like body pump, like there'll be a bicep track, a squat track, a back track, and then you can pick songs, and every piece has got choreography, and they'll teach you it through releases, and you just rinse and repeat. And then when you coach it, you get assessed. There's a video assessment that you send in, but then you just get really good at presence and attitude and group management because you just have to manage a group well. And sometimes like you could get a small class of 15, 20 people, or if you're in a big studio, you can get 40, 50 people in there and you got to manage that. So you kind of have to, and then sometimes your microphone doesn't work, so you got to shout at the top of your lungs. And yeah, so that's kind of trial by fire, really.
Dude, I love that.
There's so many things in this thing in general. One, um, just repeating the basics, like you
Hmm.
making mention of that. Les Mills doing that, like just
Yeah.
repeating the choreography. The same thing with your salsa coaching or teaching, where it's like you're just teaching gentlemen the basics. It's like there's so much value in that, and we go back to that time after time after time again of like how important it is just to get really really good at the basics. and being able to do the simple stuff, which gives you the brain capacity to start exploring doing more complex things.
100%.
Also sounds like you had some great examples and great coaches to look up to, of like to see what good coaches look like. Were there other good coaches at Les Mills? And obviously I'm assuming that your salsa coach was a great coach.
No, he was just like the same thing. He was just really good at like present attitude. He was just like this Sri Lankan hippie guy with dreadlocks. Like that's the best way to describe him. But like you just walked in this class and he would just take over the room and he would just have a blast. And I think he just kind of, um, he always had a really good energy. And then he always had a very similar story. Like he never really, he said he was so bad at the beginning, but then just, one day it just sort of clicked, just like a double under. It's like one day it's like, oh wow, I can actually breathe now a little bit when I'm doing this. And then and then like the steps work, you had the rhythm with the music and it just all sort of clicked together. And it was just kind of one of those things. And it's very similar with golf. Like you kind of get a basic swing and then after thousands and thousands and thousands of reps of just hitting ball after ball after ball, you kind of ingrain your swing to a point where it's almost automatic. So it's just like it's these two things that I've kind of in a way grown up with. That kind of just you literally master the basics, and this is like the Glassman quote: like once you feel like you mastered them, you go back and you relearn them all.
Yeah.
Like I had a
So
lesson the other day, a golf lesson, and like literally, he's an amazing coach, and it's the same thing. He literally goes through your setup, ball position, stance, and it's just like like what Coach B would always say: stance, grip, and position. Always, always,
yeah,
always.
that's actually how
Yeah.
I teach the clean. I say
Yeah.
set up, adjust your balls, and then so we go
Yeah.
set up, ball position, and then we go into the barbell portion of it. But
There you go.
yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, sounds about right.
But it does sound like you had like the perfect storm of like, just like Todd said, you had this guy who was like, okay, we're going to give you present attitude, but we're going to be focusing on basic steps. You're actually coaching the steps. So you're watching for fault in those steps, teaching step, coach step, teaching step. And it was the same thing. Then you move on to like being taught presence and attitude. This is how you manage a group and go presence and attitude. And then when you find CrossFit, you find your way into fucking Carl Steadman's gym.
Yeah, dude.
And you're like, oh, this is an example of it done really well. And I'm going to learn. And for some reason, you were super curious at that point in time. And so you just dug into like, let me take my two little backgrounds before and like consume all the information around it, use this example. And then when do you start coaching CrossFit from there?
Perfect. Yeah. So this is where all the stars align. So I was working in Virgin Active. Listen, I'm back in the UK now, in Manchester in '08. And then I'm basically annoying the shit out of Carl all the time. And then he went and does his level 2, I think that summer. And he goes and does it.
I'd be curious to know, like we know him as a great coach, like fantastic person, obviously, and coach as well. At the time, it's still so early. Like, was he a great coach? Like when you're sitting in his gym and you're just watching him do one-on-ones and watching him coach classes, was he, I mean, he's probably not great compared to this standard, like nobody was back then, but was he way ahead of the curve? Was he using the progressions from the level 1? Was he teaching, seeing, and correcting, doing all that kind of stuff?
I mean, this is something I've always taken from him. Like he can really condense something really complicated and make it relative, like it makes it feel like it's quite simple. And he's very gifted at that. And so like he would even like, I had sessions with him, like PT sessions with him. He would just kind of break things down. I'm like, hey, we're just doing this today. And then he would just drill in position, create a workout that we can build on it. And then I would watch him like coach other clients. One, he's got a gift of banter and he can talk anyone to death. But just how he could keep the teaching fun and simple at all times was just really, really great. And that's something I always took from him. But then like he told me just like, hey, just keep looking at CrossFit.com. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, we're actually getting the first seminar here in September. So he literally goes and does the level 2. It's kind of in the pipeline. And this is the very first international seminar outside of the US. Glassman comes out, Nicole's here, Todd, Stump, Jimmy Letchford, like the whole crew are here.
Did he did the level 2 in the States then?
Yeah. Yeah.
When he did? Okay.
I want to say, I think Nadia was on it.
Okay.
I want to say Ackerman as well, but I don't know. I can bug him and ask him. So I remember
Nah,
when he
Was
was
it
shitting his pants.
okay? Did he
Yeah,
and
because
did
they
he
all go into
pass?
the secret room. Yeah, he passed like flying colors.
Nice.
He crushed it.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah. So then the seminar came on September. I had a like I remember when he told me it was going to get released on a website. I was like on CrossFit.com for 3 hours, just hitting refresh and just trying to get my credit card to work. Like I was just hoping the cash would go through and it would get there. And then literally, I was just like reading the journal articles over and over again and watching the videos. And then, like I said, it was an amazing 2 days. And back then, like the workouts were quite different a lot of the time, depending on the gear and the equipment and how many people. I think there was like 60 people there. It was insane. But the
Yeah.
funny story with that, Carl was the POC and literally showed up that morning, got everything ready, and then during the trainer meeting, um, Nicole just goes, basically, you're running a group. So you kind of just threw him under the bus. So he actually ran a group that weekend
That's awesome.
with
That's
uh,
so
with
bringing
cool.
it
Matt
back.
with Mads as well. Mads came out as well. Oh no, so Mads did the level one, and then he got on staff soon after. But Carl was literally just thrown under the bus, and he ran a group. And he come and told me at lunchtime, he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just hope I'm just getting by.
What was the
That's
what
crazy.
year was that? Was that
Two, September
2009, 10
2008.
to 8? That was
2008.
8.
Yeah. Yeah, I met you in '09. So my seminar staff journey is a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, yeah. So you take that first level one.
In '08, yeah. And then from there, so it was a weird experience. I was meant to go to uni. I promised my mom I'll go to university, got accepted to do sports science and all that sort of stuff. I did the level one, and then literally, I think 2 weeks later, I was meant to start uni. And then the guy I used to train with, he goes, "Hey, like, do you want to open up a gym?" I went, "Sure." And then basically within 3-4 months, my gym was called CrossFit Central Manchester. We got that approved in the Christmas of '08, and then we were operational in '09. And literally, I left the Globo Gym space, the Virgin Active, and then I got referred to a guy who had like a martial arts studio. I just did a shared revenue in his little strength and conditioning space, and that's how it all sort of started in '09.
Are you a CrossFit coach who's feeling stuck in their development? You're not alone. Many coaches lack good guidance when it comes to how to develop as a coach. They either don't have strong examples they find themselves around, they may lack support from their gym owner, and they just feel unprepared going into their next credential. That's why we made the Knowledge Pro, to fill that gap. It's a mentorship program built for coaches like you. It uses the Knowledge Daily, our comprehensive video library, as well as extra content that we put directly into the Knowledge Pro on our live weekly calls twice a week to mentor you and get you to the next level of development. We've got progressions, we've got scales, we've got one-off tips and tricks, we've got full coached classes by level 4 coaches so you can see an example of what it means to do this job well. All of that will also be walked through each week on those live calls, so that you have a soundboard to bounce off of and a group of coaches looking to be better to help support you in your endeavors. Coaching isn't just knowing what to do, it's also knowing how to do it. And that takes 2 things. 1, an example, and 2, practice. Practice is on your end. You got to go out there and do it. We can help provide that example and the support with the Knowledge Pro. If you want to know more, click the link below and give the Knowledge Pro a shot. I look forward to seeing you on one of the next calls.
And so how long did you run that affiliate? How did that transition? How did you transition onto getting an opportunity for seminar staff and all of that?
Awesome. Um, so I think once I did the level one, I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. And that was, to me, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to get this good to be at this level to do it. But I'm going to figure out a way. And I'll kind of tell you the Pat story afterwards. So, and then I remember going to Nicole and I just said, hey, this is like one of the best weekends I've ever had. Like, and I was like, I remember I was shaking. I was so nervous just talking to her. And then she just gave me a big hug and I was like, great. And then, so started running the gym. Obviously didn't know how to run a business. And, I was just coaching anyone who I could get through the door. And then, in 2009, I go and do another level one up in Northern Ireland, up in Lurgan. That's where I met Pat. Yeah, so it's
And tell
Pat.
me
And
what was
Miko Salo.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was insane.
what was the thought for that? Is it was just like that was so cool. I just want to go back and experience that
Yeah,
again.
yeah. To
That was
me,
the
that
thought. Okay.
these were the best people, and if there's anything around the area, I'm gonna go back. And I just remember I was just maxing out my credit card, just trying to
Yeah,
get
okay.
my butt to these gigs. And then I
Unfortunately
remember,
for him, that one wasn't the best people because I was there. But
no, it was
there were
great.
other people who were valuable at that set. We had Lisa Ray. We
And
had
Mike did like the
Mike.
one finger muscle up thing. That
Mike
was his
did
party
the
trick.
one finger muscle up thing. Who else did we have? We had, I think Savan was there randomly filming
I
Miko.
think so. Yeah,
So
yeah. Yes, he was because he just did because I did the whatever that regional that year, and there's 13 of us in the whole European
Mhm.
regional, and Miko Salo was there, and then
yes,
he does the workout, he finishes, puts his beanie back on, gets his camera out, and starts filming us doing the workout and dying. That was
yeah.
our first experience with him.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
And well, so and then, but that was the summit. Like, so Miko did Fran with frog pull-ups and did it in
correct.
like 3 minutes flat, and we were like,
Uh,
"What the hell was
Yeah,
that?"
and then he did
And
1K
then
intervals at the end of the seminar.
1K intervals, but like
Yeah.
at like a
Oh, it was
140
insane.
clip or like
Yeah.
some stupid clip. He did 5 1K intervals with like a 2 minute break in between, and we're
Yeah.
all sitting there watching like, what is wrong with this human?
Yeah.
That was so fun. What a great gig. That was my first time ever leaving the US.
No way.
That was
Well,
my
I
first
mean,
time ever leaving the country.
so literally, yeah. So like I was hanging out with you guys and asking like, well, how did you get on staff? And then I remember asking Pat and then Mads. I'm like, what did you guys do? Because it's just like all of a sudden, like Mads did his level one with me, and then next thing I know, he's wearing the shirt and doing the seminar. I'm like, okay, well, okay, no worries. And then I knew Carl was on staff, and he just said, yeah, like basically he just started working the gigs, and I was like, okay. And then I just kept asking him questions, kept trying to coach the best way I can, and then I did the coaches prep course, and then I did another level one, and that was when Jen and Dennis were out in the UK, and they had to run a seminar because of the volcano.
Because of the storm. Yeah, okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Volcano. Yeah, I've
And
heard
that
that
was when
story, right?
that's when they first launched the test too. So we didn't have the test because Pat Sherwood couldn't get out there. And then so like it was like the old school seminar. Like I remember Jen was a rabbit and made everyone make we did all we all did Tabata then Tabata bottom to bottom Tabata, and we had to like keep up with her.
Yeah.
And then I had a long chat with her. We had like a really cool heart to heart. And then I don't know how we got to the conversation of staff, but I just said, hey, I promise you, like I'll be doing this with you one day. And that's and then she every time I see her, she's like, you kept your promise. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it was just something I felt like I always had to do.
That's awesome.
So that's 3 level ones down, coach prep course done. And then I think I did another coach prep course, and then Chuck was on it. And this was the back end of 2010. And then from there, I was running the groups, and then Chuck gave me some feedback, and I had a chat with him afterwards. I was like, hey, like same sort of thing, like, hey, what can I do to kind of to do better and whatnot? And if there's any opportunity, I don't know how this works, but like I'd love to kind of throw my hat in the ring at some point. And then he goes, look, work on this feedback, email me in a month, and tell me what how it all went. I went, okay. And I emailed him in a month, and then I literally went, like just kind of dissected everything I did, and then he just goes, okay, email Nicole, tell him why you want to do this. And I sent the email sort of end of Jan, and I got a reply on my birthday that I could intern and go through the intern
Oh,
process.
dude, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so that was like the start of 2011.
Dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
then how
Wait,
many gigs
before
did it
we-
take you? Go ahead.
Before we move too far on, I just wanted to, for people who don't know, the way the old courses used to work is there was a level 1. They finally came out with a level 2. The level
Yep.
2 was a brutal thing that is
Correct.
far more like a current level 4.
Yep.
And it
Yeah,
was
it's
a
a
pass fail where he
Yep.
mentioned it. He alluded to it where there was this like secret room. And what would happen was
Oh my
you
God.
do the whole seminar. you do the whole seminar, like 2 straight days of like, hey, coaching other people through like little mini groups. Like, hey, teach the clean, you have 8 minutes. Teach the squat, you have 7 minutes. Teach the and then you have coaches evaluate you, like 5 different coaches. And at the end of the weekend, those coaches sat in a room and discussed whether or not you're like thumbs up, thumbs down, gladiator style, whether or not you survived, and know whether you passed or failed. They would set everyone in the course out in a big room, and one by one bring them into the room, and then tell them they passed or tell them they failed, and then that person would have to go back out to the main room,
walk out in front of everybody,
and face
either
everybody else who's just sitting there chatting. And like
there wasn't much chatting going on in that room. Everybody was so nervous and scared. Nobody was chatting. Everybody's just sitting there. And then people walk out with tears in their eyes.
Oh my God.
Every once in a while, you'd get somebody with a big smile on their face.
Dude.
Yeah.
But it had like a what, 10-20% pass rate. It was very low.
It was insane. Like you have 20 people, you maybe get 2 people that got through.
Literally. And so it was brutal. So that was the original level 2. That then turned into the coach's prep course. That then turned into, again, the level 2, which we currently have iteration-wise. So just for people's own education going back. So that was what you alluded to, Simon, which that was such a fun experience to watch. Anyway,
I think there was one level 2 I was trying to get out to during the whole process. And it sold out so quick. I was like, oh, okay. But so during that time, I was just literally trying to figure out how to run my gym, coach as much as possible. And then like we slowly move into bigger spaces. So like the martial arts studio I was at, we both became relatively successful. So we moved to a bigger location. So instead of me having a small area, I had half the gym, he had the other half, in 2010. And then when I went through the intern process, through the back end of 2011, he needed more space. So he went next door. So I had the whole kind of warehouse unit. It was like 2,000 square feet. And then he just took next door. And that's how it kind of all sort of started. And then, so your question was like, how long did it take me? So I did 3 internships total. First one was with Pat Sherwood in Gran Canaria. And then, the second one was with, Miranda, for my second one in Sweden, in Stockholm. And then my third one was with Pat Sherwood and Yami on my third.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's how cool is that? Like 3 level 1s, 2 coaches prep, or what we would now know as the level 2 before you even did it. Then 3 additional level 1s.
Yeah.
And like the first 5, you were paying your $1,000 to get in there and do that. The next 3, you didn't have to pay your $1,000, but you're paying your travel, your food, your stay, all the rest of that stuff. Yeah. It's like, man, know the basics and just keep showing up.
And then the same thing, I would ask Carl, I'm like, hey, like any advice? He's like, don't fuck it up. I'm like, okay. This is the usual thing.
Thanks for that. That doesn't help, right? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's advice. I mean, he's right. Don't fuck it up.
True.
I mean.
That's true. So on that last one, I remember, because that's when we used to do pretty much all the rotations on day 1, and then we would go to the push and med ball clean on day 2. And then I remember, I think Yami and Pat had a chat, and then he just come up to me, he's like, okay, hey, you need to really show us that you want this. And I was like, oh fuck. So I just,
you're like eight
completely
gigs.
blacked
What
out.
Do you mean?
Yeah, completely blacked out. Ran the group, and then I never got told anything until the very end. And then Carl was there because it was in Matt Evans' gym back in Wales, in Swansea.
Yeah.
And then we're doing everyone finished the level 1. We're just hanging out with everyone, and I'm still trying to figure out like, hey, what the hell is going on? And then Carl comes up to me. He's like, hey, Pat and Yami want you to go into the office. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it sounded really serious. I walked in. There was no chair for me, so I was kind of like sitting on the floor.
I thought you were going to say standing awkwardly.
Yeah, well,
just as bad.
I actually felt like I was on my knees. And then Pat goes, well, how do you think you did? And I'm like, I said, I learned a lot. It was amazing just seeing how you guys did stuff, and I really took a lot on board. I felt I did okay. It's just where I've just been trying to apply all the feedback that I've gotten through the whole process. And he just goes, there's no easy way to say this, but yeah, he didn't make it. I was like, oh, okay. And it's just this long, awkward silence. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, is there anything I can do? Can I go through the process again? And he just looks at me like, no, that's it. It's one and done, and you're finished. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, shit. Okay, well, look, this has been an amazing process. I can't thank you enough for it. He's like, bro, we're just fucking with you. You're fine. Yeah, I was literally just sweating and shitting my pants. So
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that's kind of so I got on May 2011, and then I haven't looked back since.
That's
Oh,
cool.
man.
Wait, you said you had a story about me in there? What? I'm
Well,
curious.
Yeah, that was just the level 1 I met with you in Northern Ireland.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
And
Yeah.
and then I remember
I
you're telling us to go through Fran. You're like, yeah, you're just gonna go really, really fast. And I'm like, I think I absolutely killed myself. And then
You did.
yeah, and then I just remember like asking afterwards. I'm like, I was just bugging everyone. Then I'm like, hey, so how did you get on staff? Like, and then I just remember watching all your videos because you were doing so much of the media back then as well.
I was, yeah. Yeah.
Like
It,
you're
it
doing
was it was possible in those days, right? Like in
Yeah.
2007, 8, 9, you could watch every CrossFit video there was.
100%. And I would watch them on repeat.
it wouldn't take you. Yeah, it wouldn't take you very long to get through them, and then you'd get a new one every couple days or every day or two, and it'd be like, oh, sweet, I get to watch this other one. It's crazy how much it's changed, isn't it?
Oh, it's nuts.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
we've produced in one year, maybe 2 years, a year and a half more videos at 4K resolution and with crazy mics and stuff
Yep.
on the knowledge than they did the entire first 15 years of CrossFit, which is crazy.
Wow.
Right.
It's wild to see where things have come, which it almost makes it harder to find information, harder
Yeah,
to really
there's so
buy
much
in and
information.
know what's true. It's so noisy,
And
it's
that was
so
pretty cool. Like when I found when I signed up to the knowledge, I could literally just type in a movement or just watch one of you. Like I was watching Pat the class you kind of just ran into, and then you were asking if you like cats or dogs.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I was watching that the other day, and then Todd, you were kind of assessing it. You're like, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just looked at that class. I went, oh my God! Like you didn't have that much space either. That was just full.
That was so
Oh,
full.
dude.
That was dude, that 31 people showed up for this.
Yep.
And this is this guy's every day at his gym.
Wow.
Yeah,
Ryan he's awesome.
He's a beast.
We were there. Yeah, we were there for the whole weekend. He added classes. We were doing an in-person event, the Knowledge Pro in person, and we added classes on Sunday so that everybody could coach. And each one of those classes had over 30 people as well.
No
Can you
way.
imagine that being like, hey guys, we're going to run some extra classes if you want to get some extra fitness, and okay, how many do you need? And we'll have 30 people in each one of those. It was bananas.
Damn.
It was
And
such a cool environment.
And this is in a little podunk town, I would say. It's it's called Yuba City. There's literally chickens that run around the city. And it's not a big town, and it's kind of not middle of nowhere, but it's an hour from Sacramento, and there's nobody really. But I think that's the power of it in those spaces is to me untapped. If you create a community in a space like that, where you can be one of the best parts about that town.
Literally.
You're not like San Diego riverfront where you're I could go for a run or a beach or a surf or a ball. You're dude, this is the home, and you can do that so many places. I don't know.
But that's that's what Annie did with Reykjavik, right?
Yeah.
People would travel
Yes.
all over the world just to go to her gym, and it was absolutely packed. And then anyone
Yes.
who lived there, that was just the place to go.
That's just what you do, right?
It's what you do.
So what happened with your affiliate? So you get on staff,
Yeah.
and what happens? Did you keep your affiliate?
I kept it till about 2015. So 2011, I was got on staff, and then that year I didn't work that many, and then that was the first time I went to a trainer summit and kind of met the crew. And then I remember talking to Nicole, and she just goes, "Hey, how are you enjoying it?" I was like, "I love it." He just said, "Get ready to work." I went, "Okay." And then 2012 clicked. I was going everywhere. Anywhere they could send us, they would go. I was going to Asia a lot. I did 6-week road trips. It was nuts. And then it just got to the point where I kind of really missed being away from Dubai, and I wanted to come back. So that was sort of 2015. And then my partner wanted to kind of take the gym in a slightly different direction. I was like, cool, well, this is kind of my plan. I actually want to move back. So we really had like a good split. And then literally she kept the gym. And then I moved back to Dubai, and I just emailed Dave. I'm going, hey, Dave, like, I'll only really do this if it works out for you guys. But if I'm thinking about moving it back to Dubai, is this a good thing? He says, it's perfect for us. I went, okay, cool. And then I just made everything kind of aligned. And then 2015 sort of moved back to Dubai, and then kind of put the roots here. And then I was working out here a lot. And then I was going into China, Korea, Thailand, and stuff like that.
Did you start coaching at an affiliate there, or were you so busy and traveling so much with gigs that didn't really even have capacity?
So busy. Yeah, it was tough, and I wanted to commit to something. So I would just kind of help gyms ad hoc, and like multiple gyms. Like if a coach went on holiday, I'll cover classes if I was around. Because back then, I think I was like my heyday, I was doing like kind of similar to what some of you guys would do now, like 30, 35 seminars a year. So it was hard for me to commit to anything full time. And then, 2016, I became Flow. And then I could kind of like, in a way, like if it's gyms that we've been to, I would kind of go like, what sort of frequency do you think we could get a good number of people to come in? And then we started going into Saudi and Qatar and all that sort of stuff as well. So it started slowly build up. And then, Todd, you came and did a gig with us in Abu Dhabi, right?
I did. I'm trying to think. I think it was only one, but I went out there for that. That was great. Yeah, it was such a cool experience.
So you've probably done some.
Then.
What's that? I wasn't. I was just like, it's been a slow roll. Not as much as I am now. That's for sure.
You've probably been to more different level ones, like in different parts of the world than many. Is there anything you've noticed from like it? Because I've traveled a lot. I've done a lot in Australia. I've done some in Korea.
You were in New Zealand for a long time, right?
In New Zealand for a long time, but not nearly the same. Like you were everywhere. And in very disparate places, very differently seeming places. Like, is there something you notice that really changes from place to place, or is there a common theme? Like, what can you, upon reflection of looking at all those different places, like what jumps out?
I remember, I think the thing that always stood out, it was like, doesn't matter where you go, like CrossFit was CrossFit. Like in the place we went to, and it just kind of felt like a second home. That was always there. And then it was just a different language. And, when we were running seminars, especially when we were in a new location, like Korea was kind of one of the crazy ones we would go to, and they were absolutely loving it. Like they couldn't really speak the language, and we had to get translators off the ground quite quickly over there. And it was just how they just love the culture of it and the community vibe with it. And like, I think there's like over 350 affiliates in Korea. It's insane, currently. But then what was very interesting is, how we had to run the seminars, because we would always have like 3 or 4 different versions of the same lecture. Like one is full English, one is kind of like simpler with less examples. One is like you literally have a translator just going back and forth with you for the whole time. And so we had to really adjust to things quite quickly. And even running groups, we had to be cool. Well, we can't really elaborate or go into super in-depth conversation. So we had to keep things very like, hey, do the reps, get in the position, see the difference here and here, make the change. So you actually had to be very good at visual cues. Like you had to cut out any sort of fluff in a lecture and when you're running a groups. So that just kind of like fine-tuned a lot of stuff, but just where you just felt like you could pretty much go anywhere and still do the same thing. But like kind of your question there on like the things that were different, I think it was really cool because anytime we went to a new country, it was kind of like what we were going through when we first found it. And just seeing it again and seeing it like through like, oh my God, this is the first time they've done this thing. This is the first time, them going on a rower or like really attempting how to do a proper kipping progression. And like just seeing that process again and again in different countries was just, it was really cool to see because it was like, you could see that aha moment that would click sometimes.
I remember those early days watching people go through an intense workout at proper intensity for the first time.
Because the panic in people's eyes when they do Fran for the first time, like real Fran for the first time, there is panic. And that's that's the best way to describe it. They get through that round or the middle of the round of 21 and the look on their face is like, where am I? What just happened to me? And there is something about that where all these people get fired up to do it, but they've never really done it the right way, right? They've never been exposed to the true methodology. And then you're the one that's there and able to take them and kind of shepherd them through that. That's really, really cool.
And just kneecaps them, just like, and they're the first. My favorite was the first rep of the thruster on 15.
100%.
That was where you just watch souls go away.
Dude, I think that you were like just staring at me when I picked up that bar on 15 in the 2009 gig, and I was like, I'm gonna die.
Everybody's looking at it going like, who put 135 on here? This is not the same first bar that I started the workout with.
Correct.
Hey, one thing you were noting that I want to just put out there as a thing.
Yeah.
I've noticed exactly that when you have to have a translated gig, like in your, especially if it's like fully translated, you say something, they say something, you say something, they say something. Like that forces such a refinement of the information that like there's no room for fluff because the seminar would be 5 hours long, or like each lecture would be 5 hours long. But I think that would be an amazing teaching tool. So like if we want to take coaches, because so many coaches don't shut the frick up, and it's like, dude, shut up. What if we got them to go and teach in another language and have it be translated and realize how little they're able to say and how effective that could be.
And I mean, that's feedback I always say in the level 2. I just go, hey, okay, everything you just said is correct. What's a 2-second version of that? Oh, do this. I'm like, cool. Just say that thing. Just watch what happens.
Totally. But to force it with translation, I
think to your point, like everybody we get so into this stuff. We know the information so much. We're so passionate about. We want to share so much of it that we share too much of it.
Yeah.
And so I know, like for myself, when we were running a program at the deaf and blind school here in St. Augustine, same deal. It's like, none of my words work. I better figure out how to do this another way.
Wow.
And the same deal when we were at that in-person event, we did some drills where we had people coach things, and they weren't even like CrossFit movements. They were other movements, but then they had one of their athletes was blindfolded and another one had like headphones on playing loud, and they had to figure out how to teach this stuff to people that couldn't understand. So similar to your point, Pat, of like translated or not speaking the language. I think there's ways to work around that, and that skill is very valuable to work on.
I think I still remember, and this is when Wanu was like, he just gone, or he was translating for us, but then he did his level 2 for the first time, and like it's back then it was kind of like, well, we didn't really have an official translator, so they had to kind of teach in English, and we were like, well, all right, let's just see what happens. Wanu was kind of helping us on the side a little bit, but what I actually found out is they coach better because they couldn't use their words. And then I'm like, they had to be very visual what I wanted. So just so we could understand it. But I think they took a lot away from it because they said the most important thing to make the change that they needed. And then they moved on from there versus just kind of filling it because they want to share their knowledge, just like you said there. And, but then sometimes they're just words. It's too much of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually had at my level 2 this last weekend. I had a guy who was Arabic who like barely understood or spoke English. And it was really interesting because he was a unit. The guy was probably like 6'2", 6'3", but gigantic, just like jacked, and loved competition. That's why he was there. He was pretty rad. He had this like big American flag headband, 2 American flag wrist sleeves, American flag socks with these bright American flag shorts both days. And I was like, I love you, man. This guy's great. Anyway, but barely spoke English. And when he tried to coach, it was bad. Like he just couldn't do the thing. And he's like, I speak 5 languages. English is very hard for me. And I was like, fair.
That's impressive. Yeah.
I was like, don't speak, just show.
Exactly. I was like, you don't get to talk, you just get to do the thing. And we got to watch him go from stumbling through to just pointing and moving and fucking crushing. And I was like, Boom. So good. Check it out. So it was fun.
I think that's such a good point. And you're like, Simon, you mentioned it before of like, that's the neat part about this program is you can go anywhere in the world and CrossFit is CrossFit, exactly like you said. And so, they might be speaking the different language, but you show up and you want to jump into a workout. Number one, a squat or a thruster is a squat thruster at anywhere else in the world. So you can pick up pretty quickly. And then also just the people that you get to interact with, right? You show up and like, you guys have both had the opportunity to travel. Like, how often have you showed up and just walked into a CrossFit gym in some country? You don't know anybody there. You don't know the country at all. And they just take you under their wing and like show you around and take you out and do all the things that you'd want to do. It's amazing. It's such a cool community and such like it just,
We're lucky.
Experience to see that it's the same thing everywhere in the world is really, really cool.
And I kind of said it a second ago, it is really awesome just seeing how every time you go to another country where it's new, like we did the first seminar in Sri Lanka this year, and it was the same thing. And it was just like, it was amazing stories that you'd hear going to any affiliate and how, that gym has changed that person's life. And the funny story, the guy who owns the gym, we grew up playing junior golf together. And then he got the fitness bug through me. And then over the years, and then he just went, screw it. He started getting into coaching, fell in love with it, opened up the only official affiliate in Sri Lanka. So he's been running that now since just before COVID. And his landlord,
wait, what's his name?
Andy Andrews. And then the gym's called CrossFit Ceylon.
Okay.
That's awesome.
If you ever want to go surfing there, he'll look after you.
There you go. Look, Pat's going to have it pulled up. He's going to have an email sent to the guy and a flight booked before we're off this thing. All right. So you're working seminars, you become a flow master, you're traveling all over the place. What's it look like now? I know, like, I think the volume is probably a little bit less than it was in its heyday as far as seminars go. You've got more responsibilities with your country manager over there. What else are you doing? I know you've judged at the games multiple times and done a lot of that stuff as well.
Yeah. Well, so where I work now, I'm a gym called Elevate Fitness or CrossFit DIP. We're 2 weeks in now doing all the best hour stuff. So we're kind of going through that at the moment. So it's been good. That was kind of one of my, like, hey, I'm coming into this gym, but we're doing this thing. Like, it's like, this is how I can help you guys a lot. And this is what I bring to the table. And then, it was just like, it was kind of like the perfect conversation. And then literally, I spoke to Lindsay quite a lot. And that's the part I really wanted to get back into. I was consulting gyms and coaches before. And now it's like, I was working in another gym for the last 3 years, another affiliate. And that was really good, but I really wanted to get into the business end again and the back end stuff, which I never thought I would say I missed, but I made every mistake running my first affiliate. And then, I learned the hard way. And then it just feels like it's time for me to kind of put my feet in it again. And it's been great. So I made that transition about a couple months back. And literally being on the floor, but then also helping, and we're going to be doing some coach development in the gym. And then just looking at the business operations of things as well. And that's been just a really cool thing. So it's just as a nice way it's a nice segue from, hey, look, I'm not traveling as much. And if I do travel, I'm more local based. So I do have this time here. So I get to kind of make the most of it this way.
Hell yeah.
What, like how much are you coaching weekly? Like how much are you on the floor?
I'm about 12 hours a week, 12 classes a week.
Oh, nice. All right. That's a healthy load, healthy workload.
So I was doing 8 to 10 classes a week. And then the gym was relatively heavy on building like a PT base. So we were doing 17 to 20 hours a week. And then I would do seminars on the side of that. So this one is purely just classes. And then we're building out a coach development program out of it. So I'll help the coaches. So it's less floor work, but then a bit more back end stuff.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Nice.
So we don't want to keep you too much longer, just because I'm almost been an hour about it. I know you will, but we'll have you back on, and I think we'll have you back on. And I also want to get some content in the knowledge with you, if you find a good videographer, and we'll do some stuff, because we got to. I mean, you have so much education. Let's bring that into the space and help other people. Well, we'll talk about that later. If you go back to the beginning and talk to yourself and be like, "Yo, Here's a couple bits that I'd like you to know right now at the start of this. What would you tell yourself?
I mean, I think we kind of touched on it before, and it was just like, just keep things simple as much as you can. And then, and that's the feedback I've got. I've recently just moved to a different gym, and I feel like I'm not doing anything different, but I'm just like, they're going, how do you keep things so simple? I'm like, I just picked a thing and just went, try this. And then I don't have to go into all the little nitty gritty bits. And how their movement just for them feels a lot better and feels a lot simpler for them. So I would just say, keep it simple always. And then for me, it's something I always took away from Chuck, especially when you're back in a gym again, and even on the seminar, is just ask one more question and just get to know the people in your gym, and that grows the culture. And the more questions you ask, the more they tell you and share with you, the more they trust you. And then when you actually give them a cue, there's a lot more, it just reciprocates a lot more, and it kind of spreads through that.
Yeah.
And those are kind of the two things that I kind of always take away.
Keep it simple, ask more questions, and connect on a personal level. I like it. I love both of those.
Yeah.
I always find it so fascinating that journey that we've talked about so many times is when you start, you have to keep it simple because you don't know anything. And then
Correct.
You learn some more and you make it complicated.
Yeah.
And then you go
it
back
really confusing.
and then you learn how the complication is. You just need to know what's behind the simplicity, so that way you then go back to the simplicity and make it simple again.
And one of the videos I used to watch all the time was when Coach B was coaching you a lot with the Ollie lifts. Yeah, and he just drill, and like he's almost like my second dad. Like he's amazing, and just like hanging out with him up in California, and then even when I started working for him on his staff, I was just meant to be shadowing and whatnot, and he just throws me in a group, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Yeah. So, but that's just what he does, and it's but just how it's just jump. You jump and you add pieces into it.
Yeah, but he's a perfect example of like, you want to ask him about the complexity. He could tell you if you really wanted to go there, but he doesn't need to, and he tries not to, and he says, "No, we're going to keep it big and dumb." But
exactly right.
And it's so effective. Like, I don't know. I'm happy to fight anybody who wants to talk about complexity and like make that the forefront of their coaching. And I'm like, yeah, I'll punch you in the nose. Let's
I always see that from the best coaches. They make it so simple. You're like, really? That's all it is? And I'm like, yeah, just try it. And you're like, oh. And like, for me, with the background of golf, it was like golf is a very complex thing. And then someone goes, hey, just do this thing. I'm like, that's it. And you hit it. And you're like, oh. And it just quiets your brain down. So you actually just make the swing simple and more automatic. But you just have one thought versus 3,000.
Love it.
Yeah, that's so critical. So important with all of this stuff. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Even at the highest levels of this stuff, you might have somebody that argues that, it needs to be more complex as somebody gets better. And it's like, no, the better they are, the more simple it needs to be, because it's only one little thing.
Correct.
So, yeah, man.
Well, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
In Dubai. They can follow me on Instagram, Simon Barry Jones. And they want to come and train and hang out, I'll be at Elevate Fitness or CrossFit DIP.
Heck yeah.
He's also the guy to go to if you're over there and you need some good coffee.
100%.
He's my guy. Every time
I keep bugging Lindsay. I'm like, Lindsay,
because I think a bag for me.
Oh, actually, I got a question. Did you convert Lindsay into good coffee, or is this a
yes?
Okay.
And she's not converted. She'll just once in a while try it because I'm telling her to, or she's with Cody this weekend.
Yeah.
That's making her do it. She knows nothing. So yes.
Okay. All right, Todd. After this call, I'm willing to embark on your information about coffee, but only because Simon said so.
No, but,
all right.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll give you my 2 cents. And the reason why when you get into coffee is also how I kind of won my wife over. That was like all our dates. I just take her to specialty coffee spots. But it's like coaching is a craft. Like you can have really shit coffee, you can have amazing coffee. And then even if you get really good coffee beans, you can still mess it up unless you grind it a certain way, your water's a certain temperature, and there's so many different ways to make it. So there's the machine, when you go to a coffee machine, like it's what's the extraction rate, It's a absolute obsession, but just where how all these little things and variables can make an amazing cup of coffee that tastes like a dream, or it can taste like burnt shit.
Well, so I'm gonna go back to like my over optimization. Like I
Yeah.
use Jason Ackerman as a good example of this. Somebody who optimizes their life so much that they become more fragile. So like I get the perfect amount of sleep in my 8 sleep bed with the lights that are pitch black and the music's down playing. So I can't sleep in a hotel anymore. I'm like, you've taken it too far.
Yeah.
And so I worry that by digging into the coffee space too closely, then I'm going to lose my capacity to handle and enjoy burnt crap coffee and still enjoy the process.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Behind the Knowledge. Now, if you want help developing your coaching and to learn from us directly, check out The Knowledge Pro. There we host live calls with our coaches every week where we discuss content together and work on skills to improve our on-the-floor coaching ability. To learn more, you can head over to besthouroftheirday.com/the knowledge. And if you found this content helpful, we're going to be releasing new episodes every week, so subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.